Hi, I'm Stacy, and welcome to Beyond the Mic. This is a space where we dive deep into the moments, stories, and breakthroughs that shape who we are and who we're becoming. Together, we'll explore personal growth, mental health, and the motivation you need to create lasting change. This is more than just a podcast. This is your moment to break free, rewrite your story, and step boldly into the life you've always dreamed of. It's time to stop holding back, to rise, to thrive, and to transform. Let's go beyond the mic. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how we deserve joy and not just survival. And I've been very honest with my journey and how there was an episode in my life where I was going through major depression. And I remember being in a position where I was not feeling joy and I was just surviving. And I was going through life almost robotic. And I would wake up, I would get myself ready, I'll get my son ready, I'll take him to school, I would go to work, I would, just do my responsibilities, cry on my way home, wipe my tears, be better for my son, and just do homework, extracurricular activities, you name it. I would put him to sleep and then I'll cry again. And this was on a loop. It was nonstop. And I didn't notice it until later that I was not enjoying life. And it was on me. It was on me to change that. Circumstances didn't help, but I had the ability to control how I responded, and I wasn't responding very well, to be honest. And I just remember no advice, no comment, no words would help me, nor did I wanted them, nor did I receive them, nor was I open to them, because and I didn't identify with them either way, even if they were words of positivity or words that were good for my soul or that were really good advice. But in that moment, I was like, you don't know what I'm going through. Know nothing about that. So shut your mouth. And I wasn't open for any comment, to be honest. Or maybe, and I didn't say it to the people, that were saying nice stuff. I would just take it. But I was saying that in my head. And you don't have to go through anything major like I did. But maybe you're just struggling through the mundane of life. You're just struggling with the routine of, if you're a stay-home mom, of just doing the same thing over and over, or if you're at home and you have a newborn and you just do the same thing over and over, and you do a lot, but it doesn't feel like you're doing a lot. So maybe just waking up, getting yourself ready, going to work, coming back, maybe going to the gym, eating, and then going to sleep and doing it all over again. And, at the end of the day, maybe you get your kids ready, and maybe you have kids. Sorry, that's what I meant. Maybe you have kids and, you get them ready, and, do you have all these other things that you have to fulfill, but you woke up at 5 a.m. and you worked out, and maybe the job was too stressful, and you come home at the end of the day after doing everything that you needed to do. You bathe yourself, you bathe your kids, you put them in bed, and God forbid you even hint just being close to your spouse because you're way too tired, or even accept an invitation of being a little cozy with your spouse because, like, are you crazy? Do you know what I just went through? Like, my whole day. Next day I have to do that, and you're just in survival mode, and it's never ending loop. So you pose the question, am I living or am I just surviving? And I think it's good that we question ourselves and we question our life. Is this the life that I want to live? Am I the person that I want to be? Am I doing anything to be that person or to have that life? So like I challenge you. I challenge you to question yourself. And how does survival mode look like? And I just gave you an example, but it's almost like you're always living on the edge, like you're anxious or you're tired. And you know what? Sometimes I realize that whenever we're tired, we are mainly bored. Because how many times do we dread waking up at 6 in the morning, going to work, or taking the kids to school? But have you ever gotten a plane ticket at 5 in the morning? You're up at 4, you're ready by 5, and you're on your plane by 6. And you do not feel tired because you're excited, And so sometimes we have to learn to recognize whether we're tired or we're bored. Because there is a difference. And I'm not saying that you're never tired. Like, of course you're tired. But most of the times if we change things to something that's exciting, you're no longer tired. And so, you operate almost in autopilot. You just go and you have a checklist and you just go, get ready, check. Get the kids ready, check. Do breakfast, check. It's almost like even the little things, kiss my husband, check. It's almost like you have a routine and that's why you go and you follow it and you're just in autopilot. Your feelings are almost numb and you prioritize productivity over being present. You just want to get things done because you no longer feel excitement. You no longer feel, that love to life. Sometimes, and it just depends on where your head is at the moment. But there's been times where I feel life is the most beautiful things, the most beautiful thing. And I just love life and I'm excited. And I love everything that I've created. But there's times where maybe my life is not going as I planned and I see other people's lives and I'm like, life sucks. Because my life is not the way I want it to be, so then I become negative. And so, like you might take this right now as if like, yes, like I need to enjoy life. But maybe my words right now trigger something, just like whenever people wanted to give me advice and I was like, oh no, you know nothing. Maybe my words will cause that in you. And it's okay. Like we all have our seasons. We will be ready to hear advice when we are in that right headspace, if you will. And we settle for being fine rather than being fulfilled. And maybe your life is not as bad as other people's lives. Maybe, you're just going, surfing through life like perfectly fine. But there is nothing in your life that gives you that spark. And once you cross that line of being fine, and from being just fine to actually being filled, the level of energy you're going to create, the level of intensity of wanting something better for your life or just wanting to improve and, just having this love for life. So, it's just, it will change. Like once you cross that line, is you're in another level. And I hope we can all get there, because just being fine, we only have one life. I don't know, if it's because I've lost several important people in my life, to where I know life is so short, and no second in this life is promised, and we're just a gift from God, to our parents. And life is too short. We're gonna die one day, maybe tomorrow, maybe in 10 years, maybe in once I'm 100. Like, you don't know how long your life is gonna be, and to waste it, you're doing a disservice. Life is beautiful. And where was I lost track of where I was going. But sometimes, like, we question ourselves, like, why are we stuck here? Like, what is going on? And I honestly think it can be societal pressures, or you're being raised that way, because especially we live here in the United States, or if you're from the United States, if you're from somewhere else, life is different in every country. But here it's almost like you're always on the go, always on the go, and you have to search this, and you have to fulfill this, and you have to be an entrepreneur, or you have to have your own business, or you have to be the best at your company, or there's always like a go 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 go. And there is this like very beautiful anecdote. Maybe I'm quoting it wrong, but from what I can remember, it was this two men, and one of them was fishing on a boat, and this other man would always walk by and would always tell him, like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just here fishing. And the man that was walking would always question the man fishing, and would always sound like, don't you want to start a business? And I was like, no. Don't you want to, like, create this? Don't you want to work so that you can have, all these things, maybe a house, a car, a boat? Don't you want to have like all these like magnificent things in life? And he's like, no, I just want to fish. And then one time the fisherman asked him, like, so what is your plan? Oh no, like, I have my business, and I want to do this, and my business is gonna grow. I'm gonna have like so many branches, and it's gonna be great and wonderful. But I want to retire when I'm in my 60s, and I just want to have a beach house, and I want to fish when I'm older. And so the fisherman was like, that's exactly what I'm doing. So you just went through all of this to end up where I am right now, and you're telling me to do what you're doing. I'm not exactly like, I just paraphrased. If you know that anecdote, or that story, feel free to like write it down and correct me. But that's from what I can remember. I heard it a really long time ago. So, we have societal pressure. And if you were raised in a Mexican household like I did, if you're not doing something, you're lazy. If you're bored, get a broom and start cleaning. There's a lot of things that you can do at home. My mom would always tell me, if you're bored, just start cleaning. That was her response for everything. And even if it was the first week of vacation, and I decided to sleep in until like 12 p.m.,
in the afternoon, then I was the most lazy person in the world, and I would wake up and she would be mad and just like screaming, like doing stuff. If you ask her, she's never done that. But that's just how moms are. Like, you tell them, like, remember when you did that? They're like, oh, I never did. Like, what are you talking about? But I remember just like her being in a bad mood because I slept in, and even if she didn't tell me, I knew that it was that, especially like when I was in my teenage years. But anyway, like you were raised in a household where if you're not busy, then you're lazy. So sometimes we feel unworthy of having more because we're not busy enough. And I think that's where it can get twisted, because we deserve more. We deserve to have all the great things in life, and the fear of slowing down as well, because then we have to take a look at our lives, once you slow down, because if we face our lives, then we have to question ourselves and be like, are we happy? Is this the life that I want? All of like the first questions that I mentioned in the beginning. You have to question yourself, and slowing down can be difficult, and we don't want to ask ourselves those questions because they're uncomfortable, because sometimes we don't like the answer, and sometimes we're not courageous enough to make changes, or we don't, like, we are scared. Just like we're scared of failing, we're also scared of succeeding. And those are real fears that we have. And but we have to realize that joy is a birthright. It's not a bonus to life. We grew up being taught that joy is a reward, and it's not. Like, if we work hard enough, then maybe, just maybe, we'll deserve, more, or to be happy. And that belief to me is a trap. It's a trap because joy is meant for all of us. Joy is not meant to be a prize after you've suffered, or it's not something that you unlock after, like after you suffered enough, or you've succeeded enough, or if you've done enough. Joy is for everybody. It's a human experience that it's for all of us, and it's not a transaction. It's just a human experience, and it's not earned. It's allowed, if you will. And some of the ways that we can allow joy in our lives is like by giving ourselves permission to laugh, to enjoy those things that we love, to dance. Like, even if you're not good at it, like, just dance at your home. Like, at my household, we dance for everything. Like, we're like, when I eat when I eat something that's really, really good, I dance, like, while I'm eating. Like, even right now, like, if I drink this water, I'm like, and like, tastes good. Like, I get excited. Just, or like, something good happen, and me and my sons like start dancing. And even when life is hard, and I think we have to allow ourselves to say yes to things that bring us joy, even in the middle of chaos, and believing that you don't have to wait until you're healed, or you're perfect, or you being productive enough or good enough, to allow yourself to feel joy. And one truth, a hard truth that I learned after going through difficult things, joy can coexist with grief, with fear, with uncertainty. I would feel very guilty while I was grieving when I felt joy. When I was enjoying life, it would always like give me a flashback to like, oh wait, I'm grieving, so I can't allow myself to feel joy. And that's a lie. You can feel joy for a moment. That doesn't stop you from grieving someone. That doesn't stop you from feeling joy, or from feeling fear, feeling uncertain. It doesn't stop you, and you have to wait for everything. You don't have to wait for everything to be okay to allow yourself. And at this time, I feel like allowing yourself to feel joy is almost like a radical act, because it's you saying to yourself, like, I deserve to feel good, even now, especially now, if you're going through a difficult time. And we have to shift from going on survival mode to living. And I wrote some things down, things that we can do. The first one, like, we can pause and check in, just, life is going so fast, like you have an appointment, or you rush yourself through life, just because we want to be busy. And just pause and ask yourself, like, is this bringing me joy? Like, is this stealing my joy? Is this draining me? Is this feeding me? Just everything in your life, and reclaim the little pleasures in life. Just like a sip of your favorite drink, or music. Just listening to the music that you love. Nature, laughter, going to the movies, going with your friends and laughing, and or movement, like exercising, little things that bring you joy, and allowing yourself to say yes to things that light you up, even if it's small. Protect your energy. Not allowing people that steal your energy near you, and setting boundaries, setting healthy boundaries, because we all need them, and I think that's one of the hardest one. And celebrate yourself daily, not for what you're doing, but about who you are. Celebrate yourself, because you are an amazing person. You are a hard worker. You are so loving to other people. You bring so much joy. You are always positive. Like, you are compassionate. You are humble. You are all these beautiful things. Like, who are you? Not what are you doing? Like, not what are you doing to deserve? Like, we don't have to do anything to deserve love. People should love us for who we are, not for what we do for other people. And on some final thought, you are not meant to go through life just to survive. You are here to feel it, to love it, to enjoy it, and to just to feel it. It's time to stop moving from the beyond the survival, and claim that joy that's inside you, because we all have that joy. Maybe it was stolen. Maybe bad things happen in your life. Someone you trusted, you no longer trust. Maybe you were hurt. Maybe you were heartbroken. There's so many things that people can do that can steal our joy, and we just put it like almost like at the bottom of our heart. But once we start doing little things, for ourselves, we have to give ourselves what we want from other people. If you are going through a fight, with someone, and you need comfort, give yourself comfort. If you need a hug, give yourself the hug. Just wrap your hands around you and just give yourself that hug that you need. Give yourself everything. You need words of encouragement. Give yourself those words of encouragement. Be your biggest cheerleader and be the person that you love the most. Like start loving yourself. Enjoy the company of yourself. Because we are with ourselves, 24/7. We have this little inside our head, this little voice, and we have to learn to love that little voice and love yourself. So before we leave, I want to encourage you to journal. I've done journaling for quite some time. I think I've always journaled ever since I was little, but like consciously knowing that it was helping me, a couple of years ago. And you guys don't know how good it feels to write down your thoughts. Sometimes when things are like super heavy or when a situation is too dense, I just tend to write down what I think. Just like I'm angry and I'm writing to myself, but from other like a third person. It just depends on what I'm feeling. Sometimes it's for a third, it depends. But just I would write down and then I would read it. And most of the times when things were not going too well, and I would read it and I'd be like, maybe it's not as bad as I thought. And so I encourage you to start writing. If you're afraid someone else is going to read it, rip it, burn it, whatever you want to do, but write it. You have to let it go, take it off your chest, and move on, and give yourself that not prize. What's the word I'm looking for? Give yourself that gift. Give yourself that gift of just letting go. Write it down. Don't look back and move on. And thank you so much for watching. You can listen to us on Spotify and you can watch us on YouTube. Please, if you can do me a favor and subscribe, that would really help me. If you stayed at the end of the video, thank you so much. Like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow us on Instagram at BTWS Podcast. We're also on Facebook as I believe is Beyond the Mic with Stacy, and also on TikTok, BTWS Podcast, and here on Spotify. So please subscribe. And you know what? If you can comment one thing that you're gonna do this week to, bring that joy back, or that thing that you just want to do it for the joy of it, comment down below so I can tell you what I'm gonna do. So I'll see you guys on the next one, and bye bye.